The Banyan Tree. Read by Steve Prime Productions and written by Becker the Bard. After so long in the city, it felt so good being out in nature once again. The ever-present heavy smog that hangs over the city is nowhere in sight. The constant humming and occasional honking of vehicles on the road is instead replaced by the rustling of the vegetation's leaves around me. The soft grass and dirt under my feet is a sharp contrast to the hard concrete that I'm used to treading day after day. Feeling immersed in this is, I don't know, it's almost like serenity. I can't help but let my mind wander as my feet wander. Eventually, as my ears were trying to discern the individual bird calls of what sounded like millions upon millions of birds of all shapes and sizes, I stumbled over a large, reaching root. Following this root to its source tree, my eyes came upon the largest, most ancient banyan tree I've ever seen before, and even to this day, no tree can hope to match the far-reaching branches and thick, stout base of this tree. The roots dropping from the branches made like a natural curtain, obscuring my view of its center. I pushed apart the drooping roots, and I found a natural shelter of sorts. The canopy overhead looked like it could keep out a storm, while the vertical roots on all sides gave protection from the elements. After the long hike it took me to get here, the sun's position in the sky telling me a few hours had passed, I was in need of a rest, and as this was better than any other place I'd noticed along the way, I settled in for a nap. "You don't mind if I take a little nap here, do you, Miss Banyan Tree?" I said. With that unanswered question asked, I found a soft patch of dirt, laid my head against a root, closed my eyes, and let the peace of nature lull me to sleep, as ants busied themselves around me and birds sang above me. I woke up suddenly, the cause being the quickly fading dream of which I only remembered a single voice. It was ringing out in the voids of my mind, the words lost to me. But with the last of the dream fading from memory, I got up and stretched, brushed the dirt off my back, and set off on my way. No more than 2 hours had passed, but the light would be fading soon, and fears of walking the dark were running through my head. So I set off at a fast pace, not noticing that the birds had fallen silent. It took about 15 minutes before I felt that something was off. There was the occasional rustle in the brush, without the hint of any wind. Every now and then I heard the snapping of a twig or a stick somewhere up the path, but no matter how hard I looked, there was no telling what caused it. It was only when my shoelace untied itself that my stalker struck. A large, dark figure leaped over my head, missing me by inches. My sudden crouching to tie my shoe seemed to have thrown off its aim. It landed on the path in front of me, hitting a tree instead of my body, and crashing to the ground, its back now turned to me. All I could see were rippling muscles and a silky smooth fur. Once I heard the blood-curdling growl that emanated from its throat while it was trying to lift itself up. I turned and ran. From there, it was a game of cat and mouse. And I was the mouse. I'd run, duck, and it would fly over my head. I'd stop suddenly, and it would slide on the loose dirt in front of me, taking a swipe as it flew by. It's a miracle that I survived as long as I did, but looking back, I'm not so sure it was just pure luck. My feet carried me to the tree I napped at, my lungs burning and my legs jelly. I dove into a curtain of roots and immediately felt safe. A warm feeling spread through me, and I knew I wasn't going to be hurt, somehow. It took a long time, but after not getting killed and having caught my breath, I peeked outside, and there was no monster. I looked all around, but I didn't see a thing. That was until I looked up. When I looked up, I knew what happened. The tree, somehow, grabbed the predator and had wrapped a thick, trunk-like branch around it like a giant boa constrictor. I need see no more, and I just ran again. I ran and ran and ran, and I never looked back. I made it to my car, and I drove. I drove, and I drove, and I drove. It wasn't until I was home that I rested. I rested a long, long time. And when I woke up, an unknown number of hours later, I found a single leaf to be stuck to my chest. And when I went to pull it off, it peeled off instead. Tiny tendrils like that on the vine had attached themselves to my skin, and after I finally tore the leaf off like a band-aid, a tattoo had appeared on my chest, right over my heart. The appearance eerily familiar. It was a tattoo of a single leaf. This reading was brought to you by Steve Prime Productions. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like, subscribe, maybe ring the bell if you want to, and if you have any constructive or destructive criticism, feel free to leave it in the comments. Also, have a lovely day.